Ortiz. I would do that. What's the first name, Ivan?
Edmund?
Edmund. Okay, I scratched through it and I couldn't read it. Edmund Ortiz.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you Edmund Ortiz?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that in this proceeding, the information and responses you submit will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm sorry, please put your hand down. Mr. Ortiz, before we proceed, I need to inform you that you have certain rights and protections that are involved. And I want to make sure you know, I'm going to go over them verbally and we'll also discuss them in writing. First of all, you have the right to remain silent. That means you don't have to make any kind of statement. You don't have to answer questions. You don't have to submit written paperwork that has your signature, especially papers that admit or confess to wrongdoing. You have the right to a jury trial. That means you and your attorney, with the participation of the state, could select 6 people from a pool of disinterested citizens who would hear the entire presentation on evidence, testimony, whatever materials would be presented. And that 6-person jury would decide if you're not guilty or if you have been proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. You have the right to confront witnesses. That means if you decided to go to trial, the state would submit evidence or try to submit evidence by witnesses. You and your attorney would have the right to cross-examine, question, or challenge any witness in the proceedings. You'd have the right to appeal. That right is exercised by you or your attorney or the 2 of you together, wherein you would demand that a higher court review the official record in this proceeding and whatever evidence and materials are presented. You also have the right, by the way, the right to appeal is a difficult one. You have to be aware that you have time limitations and there is certain material and information that has to be submitted in a proper fashion. You also have the right to demand that this proceeding be held in the open public courtroom. Because of the COVID pandemic, we've not been doing that. But to do that, in order to proceed with your agreement, your plea, you were required to review and sign a document that's titled Defendant's Consent to Video Conference. Now, do you understand that you have all those rights that I have discussed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And you have reviewed and signed certain documents. The documents that are part of this proceeding, this hearing, that have your signature, did you review those before you signed them and review them with your attorney and got his advice and consent?
Yes, Your Honor.
One of them, as we mentioned, was the consent to video conference. You understand that's what you did?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All these documents, they start up at the top by identifying you by name, case number, and court number. Then they have a title to what the document says. Now, in your case, you have a document that's titled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights and Court's Admonitions. That document, besides identifying you, talks about the case that you're going to plead on and how you're going to plead. It reminds you by way of having you acknowledge that you have certain rights and protections that you have been fully informed about. Are you aware of the document I'm referring to?
Yes, Your Honor.
Included in that document is a admonition or information that tells you that whatever deal you're making with the state, it is subject to my approval because as a judge, I have the authority and responsibility to review and decide, yes, I accept your plea bargain, or no, I do not. I can also give you any punishment in the proper range of punishment for the offense to which you are pleading. Reject your deal, or if I give you a punishment within the proper range, but that it's greater than what you have agreed to, then the law would allow you to start all over again, and nothing that you said or signed up till now would be used against you if you did that. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, in particular, the defendant's waiver of constitutional rights and court's admonition, do you have any questions about that document?
No, Your Honor.
All right. There's another document. It is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. That particular document, I certified to you that because you're participating in a plea bargain, you will give up your right to appeal. That's what that document tells you. Did you review that and understand it?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you signed that document?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, now, state the original charge was DWI with blood alcohol content 0.15 or higher. Does the state have a motion?
Your Honor, yes, Your Honor, the state moves to waive and abandon the extreme intoxication enhancement and proceed on a DWI first.
No objections, Your Honor.
Mr. Ortiz, what that means, and there being no objection to the motion is granted. Mr. Ortiz, what that means is you're no longer charged with driving with extreme intoxication, that is blood alcohol of 0.15 or higher. You're now charged with DWI first, and more accurately, DWI misdemeanor B. The punishment for the two is different. The benefit to you here obviously is that you're not going to have that higher range of punishment. Is this going to be a deferred or a regular probation, Ms. Haas?
Deferred, Your Honor.
All right. In addition, Mr. Ortiz, you have applied for community service, or rather community supervision. And it is critically important that your attorney has gotten for you a deferred adjudication agreement. What that means is that if I grant it to you, and I have no reason not to, I will not find you guilty, although your plea is sufficient for me to find you guilty and convict you. I will not enter a finding of guilt. I will not convict you at this point. I will defer that. You might say, in other words, postpone it. But if you live up to 100%, every bit of the conditions of supervision, then this case of DWI first will be dismissed without your conviction. It will not be under Texas law, it will not be a conviction. On the other side of this, if you fail or refuse to live up to 100% of the conditions of supervision, then in that case, sir, the state may ask me to give you official notice, bring you in for a hearing. At that hearing, it may be that I decide based on the presentation and evidence, I may decide to convict you. And that follows you the rest of your life. And I will be looking at 100%. In that situation, 100% of the range of punishment, which would be a fine from $0 to $2,000 and jail from a minimum 72 hours to 180 days. Is that clear, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. to the charge of DWI first, how do you plead, sir?
No contest.
A no contest plea is considered a guilty plea in this court and is sufficient for me to convict you. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did anyone threaten you, intimidate you, or promise you anything other than the plea bargain in exchange for your plea of no contest?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I accept your plea of no contest. I find there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty, including your own plea, but I do not. Instead, I am granting you deferred adjudication. State, recite for us what the agreement is in reference to the deferred adjudication.
Yes, Your Honor. The agreement is for 16 months deferred, a $700 fine plus court costs, 60 hours community service, DWI education, victim impact panel, TAP evaluation, and ignition interlock for 8 months.
Before I agree with this, Mr. Ortiz, tell me how you earn a living, and more importantly, do you have a family that you support?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm a reporter, a newspaper reporter, and I help out with my elderly aunt who lives by herself, and she does rely on me for transportation, for errands, and to go to the doctor's office. I also help out my cousin, who also is here in town, and I also have pets. I just live with my pets, so they rely on me as well, Your Honor.
Okay. Tell me about the cousin. Is the cousin disabled or what?
No, he works full time, but there are times when it's just the three of us, Your Honor, in town. And so we help each other constantly with errands and other things, whatever we need.
All right, sir. I accept the agreement. Mr. Ortiz, the agreement that was recited by the state and Mr. Barrera, is that the agreement that's been reached?
It is, Your Honor.
Mr. Ortiz?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I approve the punishment as recited and recommended. You are granted 16 months deferred adjudication. You were fined $700. But you know what? I didn't ask you what your income is. What is your income, sir?
My salary right now is $44,000. I bring home maybe $3,200 per month.
Okay. You're fined $700 plus court costs. You will perform 60 hours of community service restitution. You will complete in good faith a DWI education program, the victim impact panel. You'll submit to a TAP evaluation and the recommendations subject to my approval. You will have ignition interlock installed in your vehicle for a continuous 8 months. During that continuous 8 months, you're not to drive any vehicle other than your own that's equipped with ignition interlock. Your supervisory fee will be $47 a month. Now, during the entirety of the 16 months deferred adjudication, one of the main conditions is that you do not drink any alcohol. That's the second, number 2 condition. Number 1 condition is that you don't do anything illegal. Do you understand that part of the conditions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Be aware, as I said a while ago, you are required to live up to 100% of the conditions of supervision. Now, do you have any questions? By the way, you are required to appear in the offices of County Court Law Number 5 within 1 week to have your thumbprint placed on the documents as required by law. Is that
Yes, Your Honor.
clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Any questions, Mr. Ortiz?
Ivan, I thought we were going to ask about community service hours.
Yeah, I am. I'm waiting for the judge to call me.
Okay. I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Barrera, questions?
Yes, Judge. Just two things. The first one is my client's completed the DWI education program and the victim impact panel. He does have certificates, so we'd ask for credit upon providing a certificate to his probation officer.
That will be granted.
Thank you, Judge. And then the second one is my client has 30 hours of community service that he's completed with the Texas Diaper Bank. He does have volunteer hours logged in, signed by a supervisor. And we wanted to ask the court if he would be given credit for that time.
When did he complete those hours?
Judge, it ranges from November 24, 2020, all the way until September 9th, 2021. So over a span of about a year.
And why should I grant credit for the community service hours on this? Is this a volunteer program? Or is
No,
it?
Judge. Well, technically, yes, it's a volunteer program, but he did it in preparation for this plea. He wanted to provide the court with some mitigation, and this was part of that.
Yeah, but my question is this in any way employment related?
I don't believe so,
Mr.
Judge.
Ortiz,
No, sir. This was just my good faith effort, Your Honor.
and how is, as I said, how is this a community service activity?
Well, I was thinking that the Texas Diaper Bank is a court-approved program. And again, I just wanted to perform some volunteer service hours, which I've long wanted to do. And I thought this would be the opportunity to provide, again, good faith efforts towards my case, but to help out the community with distribution, packaging, and things like that the Diaper Bank does.
All right. I'll give you credit for 15 hours.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
The rest, the balance, you'll have to do. Or you
Yep.
can donate, that's up to you. We can work that out with Mr. Barrera.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, state any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I think that completes this. You have to wait today. Do not leave, Mr. Ortiz. You'll have to meet with Ms. Maricela Luna. She will start you off on the probation program. You need to be aware that probation office will read to you all of your conditions. You will sign those and they will put a copy in your hands. Is that clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. Wait for Ms. Luna. Mr. Ibarra, I think, pardon me, Mr. Barrera, you're excused unless you have something else.
No, that's it, Judge. But I did want to ask, will you be in your chambers this afternoon?
Yes, sir, of course, God willing.
Thank-
All right,
Okay, Judge. Thanks.
you're welcome. All right. I see that the